Cancer enhancing my life? Well, obviously not in a physical way. In fact, cancer has taken me to the worst place ever in my life, physically. But there's so much more to us than physical well-being. Before I explain what seems like a bizarre statement, there are two things I need to make clear. Firstly, I wish I didn't have cancer, but it's fact, and it's something I have to come to terms with. Secondly, this is my personal story. We're all unique, and so presumably our cancers are unique. There are millions of people suffering from cancer in all kinds of ways, physically, emotionally, and mentally. But this is just one story. So how could cancer possibly be enhancing my life in any way? I see it as a sort of every cloud has a silver lining. Let me explain. I retired from the police 17 years ago after 30 years service, 20 years of which was on the traffic department, where I saw my fair share of carnage on the roads. I saw people's lives devastated in just a split second, maybe through no fault of their own, a mistake, a lapse in concentration, or sometimes, particularly on the motorway, the driver falling asleep. In fact, I think every fatal road traffic accident I went to on the motorway was caused by the driver falling asleep. So next time you're tired behind the wheel of a car, just think about that. But this is no road safety video. But what my experiences taught me was that life was so fragile, that really our lives hang by a thread. 1 minute it can be all smiles and happiness, and in the next second, families' lives can be turned upside down. It made me appreciate life and everything it has to offer, and stopped me from taking certain things for granted, but not everything. In the late 1990s, I went through a period where I had some psychological issues. We lived in the country. It was winter time, and I was out walking my dog along the country lane. I was just staring at the grey road surface in front of me with all kinds of thoughts going through my head. And then suddenly I looked up, and at that moment about 20 or 30 small birds flew out from the hawthorn hedge and up into the sky, which was a lovely pale shade of blue, and the sun just above the horizon. It made me think, I have a choice. I can look down at the endless grey road surface, or I can look up and admire all the beauty around me and nature. It didn't change where I was physically, but it certainly changed where I was mentally. And I wonder whether I'm using that life lesson to help me through this period now. Most of us are born with the ability to see, hear, have a sense of smell, touch and feel, and taste. We can eat and drink to survive, and never give these natural abilities a second thought until we can't do them. I, like I imagine you, took all these things for granted until I got esophageal cancer. That prevented me from swallowing. The tumour had grown so big in my esophagus that I went through a period where I couldn't even swallow water. So I went on the chemotherapy trail and had to have a major operation. Going into the first chemotherapy, I hadn't eaten for 5 days. They fed a tube in through my nose into my stomach, so I survived on liquid feed. I lost 2 stones in as many weeks and aged 10 years. Straight after my first chemotherapy, I went straight into hospital and was there for 9 days. This is where I got to the lowest point in my life, physically. If I'd been given an option to escape it all, I would surely have taken it. For 48 hours, I was being sick every hour, and I didn't really know how I was going to get through the next day. But with the support and help of my family and close friends. I managed to grab 2.5 hours sleep on the third night, and from there managed to claw myself out of this dark well, which really was a hell for me. Anyway, I got home. It didn't stop my illness, but it made me feel a lot better. I remember at 2 o'clock in the morning throwing up in the bathroom and actually saying out loud, what a miserable existence this is. For 5 weeks, I was just surviving on liquid feed. The only pleasure I got was to put cold water in my mouth and let it slowly dribble through my teeth and over my lips into a bowl. Anything that accidentally went down my throat was immediately regurgitated back out. When I got to the third chemo, which had to be delayed because I was so poorly, the third chemo actually worked, and I could feel that the tumour was getting smaller. I could start to swallow liquid at first, and then eventually was able to swallow food again. The feeding tube was taken out, which was absolutely, you can't believe how good that makes you feel. Well, how good it made me feel. So then I was living life normally again. I had 7 weeks left until my operation. A 10-hour robotic assisted operation, for which I was told it could take up to a year to recover, which actually brings us to about now. I had another batch of chemo to go through, which finished at the end of September. And anybody who's seen any of my previous videos will know that actually that isn't the end of the chemo story, and it's not the end of the cancer story either. So in May this year, the cancer returned in my stomach, hip, and a few other places. It's inoperable. So after all this, how on earth can I draw any positives from my situation? Well, there's plenty, and that's the purpose of this video. I doubt there'll be many people who can treasure the swallowing of a small amount of water as much as I can, let alone food. When was the last time you just paused what you were doing and became aware of your body? Are you in pain? Are you in discomfort? It's something that I do every day, and I get so much joy from the fact that thinking, wow, I actually feel okay. I try not to think about my uncertain future. If I do, I give myself a slap and concentrate on the now. Yes, it's great to think and plan about things we want to do in the future, but in my circumstances, and life is uncertain for all of us, it's much better for me just to concentrate on the present. After all, life is in the present. There's no point in worrying about what the future holds and spoiling what we have at the moment. When I do go through moments of difficulty, I have a mantra, which is, maybe it'll be better tomorrow. And if it's not better the next day, well, maybe it'll be better tomorrow. And if it's not better the next day, well, maybe it will be better tomorrow. And eventually, it is better tomorrow, because everything is temporary. I find it difficult to explain how much I'm actually enjoying my life now. Yes, it's the week before chemo, and the week before chemo, I feel as though I can take on the world. I was going to go swimming in Wastwater here, even though it is the coldest lake in the Lake District. But I think I've decided against it. I'm enjoying my life like you couldn't imagine. And eventually, when I get out of this chemo treatment, the oncologist has said, you can travel anywhere in the world as far as I'm concerned. Well, I don't think I'll be going to the other side of the world, but I'll certainly be going abroad again. Watch this space. There are too many positives in my life to list. From my lovely and supportive family and close friends, simple moments in life like being physically comfortable, being able to eat and drink, ride my bike and drive my car, go for a walk in my beloved Lake District, to watching the birds on the feeders in my garden. Maybe experiencing the emotional and physical traumas I have over the last 4 years has raised even further my appreciation of what I have. It seems that suffering has become the catalyst to enhancing my life even further. I know challenging times lie ahead, but I'll deal with that when I get there. I am not going to spoil this day, hour, or minute worrying about the uncertain future. It would be a waste of my beautiful life.